All right, episode 12, fellas. We are getting into some meaningful football, that's for sure. I had some meaningful football happen this past weekend that just happened. Shout out to both of you. Thank you for coming to my final tailgate watch party or watch show, whatever you want to call it, pregame show at Doc's Backyard Grill. Shout out Doc's Backyard Grill. I got some good grub. You guys came out there.
Great venue.
Yeah. What'd you guys got? You got the South Congress egg rolls deck, and
that's what I was gonna. Is that what they call them, South Congress?
Yeah.
No, those are good because I think it's filled with like queso and like some pulled chicken or some
Texas
sort of pulled
shit,
meat.
for sure.
Delicious.
Green chili ranch with it.
Green chili ranch, also delicious. You got the fried pickles, right, Stu?
I got those too. Those are gas.
Yeah.
Oh, and probably one of the best drinks I've had in a minute.
Yeah.
Cool cucumber, very refreshing drink. Honestly, my ratings for Doc's Backyard, I'm gonna go 9 out of 10 on the egg rolls. Those were insane. I actually ate one of Dak's and then I ordered my own spread of them too. Fried pickles, hard to mess up. Fried pickles,
those were good.
9 there as well. And then that drink, I'm honestly giving that drink a 10 out of 10. If I could order one of those every bar I went to, I would. Great drink.
Yeah, so I mean that drink, I said it before, but it reminded me a lot of the Yoga and Chill at Bar Peached, which, Stu, I know you love Bar Peached. Kreitz, you refuse to go, but if you would give it a chance, I seriously think you'd love it too.
We'll maybe do something with the show, maybe at the end of the season. I do have 15% off because I live here right next to Bar Peached, so maybe we'll get it on my tab. I don't know.
Maybe the fellows go live from Bar Peached before the playoffs.
Well, I was going to say our football punishment is it's 24 hours at Waffle House, but I think I'm going to lose, and I'm probably going to have to do that. If it was my choice, I wish it was 24 hours at Bar Peached because that wouldn't be too bad.
Right. But there's like 4 people. Well, BSAP knows, so half the league knows what Bar Peached is, but half the league lives down here essentially. So
correct. Yeah, that's true.
Bar Peached. All right, we'll get but yeah, thanks for coming out, fellas. I'm glad you guys liked it. We'll be back out there, Docs. I'll keep a relationship with Charles. Maybe he'll want to get involved. I'm good buddies with the owner there. Maybe something TRC or we can coordinate over there. I'm not too sure, but that place is awesome. But while we were there,
have him on. We could just have him on for an interview.
Sure.
Why not?
Maybe his son's like FCS bound for football, so we can maybe talk about that.
Yeah.
They did an East Coast trip for him over the summer to go to some smaller schools out there. But I bring up Docs because we did see as I was doing my pregame show, OU beat Bama, which was a crazy game. And then obviously we watched part of the Texas-Georgia game. Those were the 2 big ones. Another SEC matchup that was crazy was A&M, South Carolina. Let's just say that was the first time I think I read it. I read it off. It was since 2004, teams in the SEC stat, since 2004, SEC teams down 27 or more points in an SEC matchup were 0-286 until South Carolina blew that lead to Texas A&M. Texas A&M was down 30-3, and they won 31-30. That was at halftime. We saw the whole thing with the cop. That was crazy. He's now relieved of his duties. He got canned, as he probably should. He seemed a little off there. You know what I mean? Not the best look for the cop.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I was curious because it was right after the game. They announced he was relieved of his duties. Does that just mean at football games they're like, yeah, you're not doing this anymore? Or
I don't know.
Hired as a cop in general. Like that's kind of what I was wondering.
I think he's probably canned, but he's definitely not showing up. You would hope. Yeah, that was excessive. That was unnecessary.
I would throw him in the same boat as James Franklin and Brian Kelly is a classic douchebag.
Oh, okay. All right. And we'll get into that. You're alluding to the I'll be honest, fellas. Let's just dig into that real quick. Okay,
James
big
Franklin
news.
or Brian Kelly?
No Brian Kelly. We're not talking about Brian Kelly today. That's it. We're not mentioning Brian Kelly. There's nothing to say. Like, he's on a beach somewhere enjoying his paycheck.
Hopefully he's in hell. But yeah.
We'll get into these games real quick. But the Brian Kelly hire posted a video right when it came out.
James Franklin.
Sorry, Brian Kelly. Damn it. Yes, James Franklin. Shit. James Franklin hire for Virginia Tech. We talked about that possibly being a place, fellas. Put the video out right when it happened. I was home. I was like, we got to put something out here because that's the first domino. He was the first domino of really getting fired. And then he was the first domino of getting hired too. And I mean, fellas,
we said it the first episode when it happened. Exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we all said Virginia Tech is where he's probably going.
It makes so much sense. And I know he got called by SEC schools. Arkansas probably gave him a call. Maybe Auburn did. But I think this is a perfect spot for him to land because he's already recruited in that area. He used to coach at Maryland. He's got East Coast ties. He's from Pennsylvania already. And the ACC is wide open. I'll let you guys grade the hire overall if you want to do an A to F scale. What do you think for James Franklin going to Virginia Tech?
Ooh, if I had to give it a grade, so first I'll say this. I saw a bunch of Arkansas fans were like pretty upset about it. And I think like it is crazy to see from the point when he was hired, how much he was like honestly kind of dumped on. Like nobody said he was a bad guy. But it like we knew he would get a job elsewhere. But I don't think there were a lot of teams that were clawing for him. And then the more jobs that have opened up, I feel like the more people were like, actually, James Franklin would be a pretty stable guy to have. I think Virginia Tech, they haven't been relevant. It feels like a decade at this point. It's been a little bit. The rest of the ACC's kind of surpassed them. I would give it at this point probably an A-. Like I think that's a very firm, like 30 guy. Like they got to rebuild it. I think it's a good spot for him to rebuild his brand, and they're in a spot where they have to rebuild themselves as well. And so I think for them specifically, it's a really good hire.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go similar grade. I go an A, and it would be an A plus if he was a guy that could potentially win you a national championship. And he's not, but you don't need that at Virginia Tech right now. You just need a guy who's gonna at least get you in the conversation, get you in the mix. Win the games you're supposed to, and then lose the games you're supposed to. And that's the type of coach James Franklin is. And yeah, I think he'll be able to get Virginia Tech back to that 8 to 10 win margin every season. And in the ACC, we've seen it this season. We've seen it in the past. You could definitely make your way to the playoff out of there against some lesser competition compared to other leagues.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'll just give him an A too. I mean, for Virginia Tech's sake, I think it's an A, right? Like they haven't been really relevant since Beamer was gone. Frank Beamer, once he was gone there, they just have been trying to find the guy, and probably wasn't it. And so it's a good school when it comes to like ACC program. Obviously, they got the Inner Sandman. They got a good fan base. Virginia right now is doing well, but they're a better program than Virginia is. And to be honest, I love Georgia Tech, but like if that's the standard right now in the ACC, you can be the best team within 2-3 years. Miami's got to figure it out. They're obviously one of the more powerhouses, but they haven't been really relevant in a long time. Florida State's going through it. Clemson has been the big dog we've seen actually win out of there recently. But you know, that team to me is just what they're going to go 6-6 this year. So I think right away, like you said, Stu, I think he can go win. I mean, he'll 17 guys decommitted from Penn State because James Franklin obviously was recruiting them. That's a big portion of your recruiting class. I said on air, I was like 7 of those guys probably are going to Virginia Tech. Probably the 3-4 star guys, maybe more of the 3 stars are going to go to Virginia Tech. And I think that's a coach where he's better with like a 3-star because he can push them to that like top to be the best they can be in the ACC where nobody right now is defined as the best team. Like I know they're showing, and we'll get to the rankings here real quick. I know they're showing like Miami is the top team. Miami has 2 losses. I know they beat Notre Dame, but they're probably not making the playoffs. They can't get to the ACC championship unless everything goes their way. And there's just going to be a team probably like a Georgia Tech who's going to make it and probably lose right away in the playoffs. But I think it's a great hire for them. He was going to get a job. I dislike him too. Like he is, I agree with you, Stu, a douche. But I do think they kind of somewhat did him dirty at Penn State. The way it went out, the team was done. I get it. I totally get it. But it's like there was still guys on that roster, unlike Brian Kelly. And this is not a shot at you, Dak, but it was just like that actually stood up for him. And we're like, hey, you know, this guy was actually calling me when my family was going through stuff or there was a death. He seems like a guy that's actually a good guy overall. Probably a little tightly strung, but
he's a good players coach. Like his
deserved to get it, and deserved to be a coach again. Whereas Brian Kelly, I don't think he should be. I think it's kind of like a Jimbo Fisher, probably even worse. Nah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
He cashed him
Yeah,
in.
I would personally still put him on the douchebag scale, but if this was like a tier list, he would definitely be a lower tier, whereas Brian Kelly's like a S tier douche.
Well, yeah. What would you give it?
Yes.
So let's say, I mean, I would say Brian Kelly's probably a 10 on the douchebag list. What would you rank, scale of 1 to 10? What would you rank James Franklin at this point?
My personal experiences with James
Yeah.
Franklin, I
You
would
got yelled
go.
at by James Franklin if you haven't.
This is
heard.
right.
You did.
Yeah.
And I would hate it too. I don't like the guy, but
And just the whole Michigan and tunnel stuff too. I'm factoring that in also. But personally, I would say like a 6. I would understand if other
Not bad.
people said like a 3 though.
No, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's not bad.
I think we all could say he deserved a job again.
Same, man.
For sure.
I think it's a better fit at Virginia Tech than it would have been at Arkansas. I think Arkansas would have been. I think it would have, because that's another job that he could have taken. But I think that would have been a disaster. He maybe could have gotten them like a couple of those 8-win seasons, but it never would have gotten them to a point where like they were ever truly happy. And like in the SEC like that, like you have to have real success, like real success. In order to keep your job. And so like I'm glad to like it's better to see him go to a spot like Virginia Tech than somewhere like that, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think too with these SEC jobs that are open, I'm not saying you have to be from the South, but man, you got to know the SEC. And not that he doesn't. He technically was in it, but he doesn't fit the mold of Arkansas. Arkansas is just like LSU is its own thing, Arkansas is its own thing. And he's an East Coast guy. And I think he's going to a conference where he can win right away with the way he coaches. Listen, Michigan dominated him. Ohio State dominated him. He was on the east side of the Big Ten for the majority of his time at Penn State, right? This was last year was the first year we didn't have the East and the West. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I just think that, like, I think he didn't fail the job at Penn State. They still were winning 10 games a year. They were in the semifinals last year. It just, when it crumbled, everyone's like, oh, it's big game, James. And his team was like, yeah, well, we lost this one. And then they just died, right? You know what I mean? So
he was a bridge coach for them. He was a guy got him back to relevance, and he just wasn't the guy that was going to win you the natties, and that's all right.
Right, and that's what they want there. Right.
Yeah, he's going to be able to recruit at Virginia Tech, like you said. He already
can win the ACC
in that area.
He can go to the playoffs. Like he can maybe win a playoff game or two. Championship, you're right, Stu. They're probably not winning a title, but that they have buy-in now, and I think the reason he took the job is they have come in and said we're going to invest in this coach if you're able to get him with NIL dollars. And they've invested. I think there was already a commitment of like $200+ million that is going to be invested in the program. Yeah.
Nice.
No, that's good. And I think he'll do a great job. I agree too. I think Penn State kind of did him dirty. It was like a little bit. It was a little bit of like the Dabo situation of like Dabo set the bar to a certain level, and James Franklin kind of did the same, except Penn State had a little bit more of a history with it, where they have won. I think it's only one national championship under Joe. Pye.
In the 86 or something.
Exactly. They have this delusional theory that they should be winning national championships all the time, even though they never did with their greatest coach ever, Joe Pye, and all the baggage that came with. And so, honestly, James Franklin was about as good as it kind of gets at Penn State. Who knows? Maybe the next guy will prove otherwise. But no,
I'll give Penn State this though. Like I think they're definitely worthy. Like to me, it does make sense on their end of like we do want to go get a guy that we think can truly win us national championships. Is that guy Matt Rule? I don't think so, but
I don't need
I do think they did James Franklin dirty in the sense I think they probably should have let him finish out the year at least. But I do understand the wanting to at least try to change something up to get to that next level.
I do too. Yeah, no, that's fair.
82 and 86. So they have 2 titles, but they won the Sugar Bowl in 82, which was considered the national championship against Georgia. And then undefeated season, they beat Miami 14-10 in the Fiesta Bowl.
And this is like an honest question: did they get to keep those? Like
I don't know. Whatever. I really don't need to go down that. Penn State's a tough job when it comes to that. They have a lot of resources, but what he did in his time frame, as much as I wasn't a huge fan, I'll take off my fandom hat. Thought it was a little dirty what they did to him, but the team was done. They lost to UCLA and they lost to Northwestern. I don't blame Penn State for firing him. I will blame Penn State if they don't have a plan and they're just going to go willy-nilly all right, well, that rule's not going to work. Like, that's where I'm like,
I think they were trying to get ahead of the 8 ball. And they're like, all right, they're like, we're just going to get this done with. We're going to go get the coach that they want. And then Florida was like, actually, no, we're going to throw our hat in the ring.
Domino effect.
Exactly. And then LSU was like, oh, we're going to do it. And now Penn State's in a tough spot, which like they didn't bank on, obviously.
It became the example, fellas. Like every donor, every booster would point to Penn State within those weeks. Because, dude, this was less than 2 months ago, fellas, right? Like, this was not that long ago.
Yeah.
Crazy. They're like, he got fired. I'm sure people in Baton Rouge were doing this. Same with Auburn. Same with Arkansas. Obviously, same with Florida, where they're going, he got canned and they went to the playoffs last year. Actually, we're in the semifinals and went to the Big Ten championship. Why is Billy Napier here? Why is, Sam Pittman still here? Why is Hugh Freeze here? Terrible hire already. Hugh Freeze is like the goofiest hire of all time.
And I'll be honest, I love Sam Pittman also. Never.
Yeah, but he fits Arkansas. He does.
Yeah, no, he does. Yeah.
They have to move on. All right. Fun fact. Can I say this? Texas is playing. We'll get in the games. Let's get in the games here. Sorry I derailed that, but you brought them up, so I'm wanted to get into that anyways.
We're going to talk about it anyways.
Texas lost to Georgia. Massive L. Oh my goodness, that was insane. We watched the first quarter and some change at Doc's, and it just really wasn't close. Their run game's atrocious. It's the worst in the SEC. Sarkisian, there's, like I said, there's some stuff going on clearly even off the field. He's wearing too many hats. He's got to get an offense coordinator.
Yeah.
Kirby Smart dropped his balls on him. He said, I'm going to go for the onside. Once the momentum somewhat was going to Texas's way, it got in the third quarter, fellas. It was 14-10. Texas finally scores a touchdown. Okay, it's a one-score game. The defense is held up. All right, we have a chance here. Finally got a touchdown on the board. What does Georgia do? They pound it down the field. A penalty goes against Colin Simmons. When they stop them finally on third down, prior to that, 4th and 1, Kirby Smart on his, I think their 35-yard line says, we're going for it. All right, dropped his balls on him a little bit there. And then goes and scores a touchdown after Colin Simmons, your best player on defense, or one of, right, these 5-star cats, jumps off sides. It's the one thing you can't do in that situation. It was 4th down. They weren't going for it at that point. I think it was like 4th and 4, 4th and 5. All right, first down, touchdown, 2-score game. What are we going to do? We're going to onside it because we saw something on the film that said we're going to onside it. And they didn't. They kept the ball away from Arch Manning for over 14 minutes. A whole quarter had gone by before Arch got the ball back. And they won the game there. And they won 35-10, and Texas this season is cooked. Kiss them goodbye, and I might go watch them play in Orlando against Michigan in the Citrus Bowl. That's probably what's going to happen.
I would join you. That would be a sick game.
Dude, I mean, if we're going, I'd go watch that. That's kind of cool.
Well, I'm going to be in Florida. You guys can come. I'm going to be in Florida I might go. I went to Michigan, Bama, Requila Bowl. Requila Quest? I don't even know what it is.
Requila Quest.
Thank you. That's the one. Go back to the Outback Bowl. I
know. Yeah, I agree.
Coconut shrimp versus the blooming onion.
The Outback Bowl is iconic, dude.
It was. But Texas season, in my opinion, is cooked. I bring them up because Arkansas came to mind here. Arkansas is who their opponent is this weekend on Saturday, fellas. Arkansas, Sam Pittman's tits. They're 2-8. 2-8. Yeah. You guys beat them barely, referring to LSU.
We did.
They have a positive point differential at 2-8 somehow. Yeah. That's how close these games have been with all these teams. 2-8. And how do you have a positive point differential? They do. And remember, they lost to Notre Dame by like 50. Crazy. So I wouldn't be shocked if Texas, my point is, I wouldn't be shocked if Texas stumbles on this one and then it is downhill from there. Pew.
It's good, dude. Arkansas, their offense is crazy. I'd have to go back and look at their entire schedule, but they've played everybody close because they only lost to A&M by a point. It was like 44.
And like they barely lost to Ole Miss.
They barely lost to Ole Miss, and then they just lost to LSU only by a point as well. Like they've been close in almost every single game. Yeah.
I just want to
I
bring
could
that up.
genuinely see Texas losing to Arkansas and then beating Texas A&M the week after. I could see some
I
shit
could
like
see
that
every
playing out.
outcome where
Yeah.
Texas loses out, Texas wins out, or Texas loses either or. Like I legit could see that. Yeah, plus 18 point differential for Arkansas at 2-8. Unbelievable.
That's crazy. Texas, it will be. I mean, because I feel like there are a few teams that are outside of the, I don't know, call it like top 13 right now that could potentially get in. I don't think Texas is going to be the first 9-3 team in. It's the close games against Kentucky and Mississippi State that really killed them. And I feel like the Georgia game was pretty much just how their season has gone, because they weren't. You brought it up, like they weren't getting killed. It wasn't until when the onside happened, which was a great move by Kirby Smart. That's when the avalanche happened. And then they went 3-0, and then that's when Georgia really poured it on. And so like they weren't getting destroyed through 3 quarters, but it felt like obviously their season ended in a quarter. And then now, even if they were to go beat Texas A&M, there's too many teams that they would have to jump where I just don't see it. I don't see it. Like that would be a great win on their resume, because their next best win at this point would be Vandy. But
OU. See the OU. That's the
I
thing.
kind of did forget about that one. Yeah,
the thing is that OU game, which we'll touch on, it hurt them. OU beat Bama because OU if they win out, they got to beat Missouri and they got to beat LSU, and we know this any given Saturday, and especially in the SEC. If they win out, you can't keep out a 10-win OU who's got wins against Bama, at Tennessee, at Bama, Michigan, who's ranked. Like the list goes on. Their only losses are to Texas, who's ranked, and another team that's going to be in the playoffs, and that's Ole Miss. So that actually hurt them.
No, I agree. And then now you have Notre Dame's just sitting there at 9. And they got, we'll get into like the whole rankings more, obviously.
That's a joke.
But that's the thing is like they've been, it's pretty clear and evident, like they're being protected by the committee to an extent. They're fully being protected, because then the committee, they don't have to get into the whole Notre Dame Miami factor as long as they keep them apart, far enough apart. Which is why I think they put Bama at 10 and they left Notre Dame there at 9, which I disagree with, but whatever. What are you going to do? But yeah, no, Oklahoma winning, it kind of kills Texas to an extent. But even regardless, though, is like this Texas team again. Like, would they really be the first 9-3 team, even if they were to beat A&M, that you would put into the playoffs? I don't. They just haven't looked great all year.
Honestly,
and not just like their losses. Their losses aren't bad. Obviously, like they lost to Ohio State. That's not a bad.
It's the
loss.
Florida game, though. It's the Florida game.
It's the Florida
game.
The
game that killed them is the Florida.
That's really tough. And also, well, I think what's worse though is it's the Mississippi State and the Kentucky games.
I agree. I get what you mean by the optics of it. Yeah. If they don't lose to Florida and they lose the same fashion they lost to Ohio State and Georgia, they're still in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I get what you mean by that. It's looked ugly. Like I have to watch every game of Arch Manning and this shit O-line and this terrible run game. Yeah. They're averaging like 20 less rushing yards than the 15th team in the SEC, fellas. That's South Carolina. They get like 70 a game. It's ass. And Sark, I think, I wouldn't be shocked, not to be Desmond Howard here. I would not be shocked if Sark said, you know what? This is too much pressure. The NFL, if he gets a call from somebody, whoever it might be, if someone wants to take a shot on him, his buddies are Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. Maybe he takes the Miami job if it opens. I don't think the Titans job is something I would take if I'm at Texas. I would stay at Texas. But the pressure you're under at these schools, especially Texas, that has all the resources possible. You're in this city where you're the professional team. Fellas, we live here. It's Texas. I mean, it's Texas, right? Like, it is not something to mess around with. The pressure is mounting on him, and he's getting snappy in the media. I think we're hearing a lot of stuff's going on behind the scenes. Listen, these guys got personal lives, like you know how it is. But he got back with this. Let's just say how it is. It's knowledge. He got back with the wife that he divorced. Like they got divorced. This is the second one. We've heard about the off. We talked to our friend from Washington. This guy had issues off this field in Washington. He's not boozing anymore that we know of, right? I'm not claiming anything. I'm not claiming anything, but the guy. Listen, like Lane Kiffin, like a lot of these coaches, you have a life outside of football. And I think there's a lot going on in this guy's life where he's having a kid, he's having a wife he's now back with. It seems a little odd. There's something else going on there. And listen, they were number 1 in the country. What happened to the number 2 team in the country? Well, they fired their coach after they lost a ranked game, and now he's the head coach of Virginia Tech. The pressure is so high right now, and I'm not making an excuse for Sark, but when you make it to the semifinals back-to-back years, and you're sitting to the media and telling them, whose standard are we not living up to? Your own.
That was that quote.
Right. Like,
it was bad.
I wouldn't throw Sark in the douchebag category. I wouldn't call him a douchebag. I do think
I
he's a
would.
guy. I think he's a guy who wants to live a douchebag lifestyle, though. Like
I like
the
that
spike
too.
on the hair says it
Yeah.
all.
The shade.
Glasses. Getting back with the divorced wife. Like this guy wants to live a Hoodville college football life, bro.
He does. He wants to be cool so desperately with the shades and the tight quarter zip and the Sark spike.
He wears a hoodie. He doesn't wear a tight quarter zip.
It looks like
he used to wear it.
All right.
But it's a tight hoodie. It's a tight white hoodie. But I'll say obviously the pressure is insanely high at Texas, and I think the difference between like college and the NFL is it is kind of like the family aspect where with college football teams, it's a very tight-knit community. Maybe not the same, I guess, in Austin as opposed to a place like maybe like Ann Arbor or Baton Rouge or something like that, where like people within the community will see your family around and stuff. So you have that added factor. But I mean, the pressure in the NFL, even if you go to a dog shit franchise like the Miami Dolphins, you might only, if you're really bad, you might only get 2 years. So even if like an NFL team like that wanted him, he's still, I would say, at Texas. But I see what you're saying, where it's like,
even if it didn't work out an NFL head coach job, though, I could see someone hiring him as like an OC after that. Even if he were to take a head coach job and get canned, I think he could still be like an NFL OC.
Here's the deal. This is kind of my point why I could see him maybe wanting to get out. Right? Okay. Pressure is one thing, but more importantly, what he's doing at Texas is he's putting too much on his plate. Right? We've seen these coaches that come in. Ryan Day's an example, right? Who think they can be their offensive minded, think they can be the offensive coordinator, even though they have a GM. You're the GM of the team. You're the CEO now in college football. Whereas in the NFL, not saying it's an easier job. I'm not making that comparison, saying it's still extremely tough, right? But you're not the GM. You're not Brad Holmes. You aren't the scouts as well going to visit these players that are playing in college. Like, you are the coach. That is your job. And the thing he's doing at Texas right now, and what all the boosters have a big problem with is, dude, why aren't you bringing in an OC? Well, the season's already happened, and you're prisoner of the moment. Everybody wants to be undefeated, best team, get a championship. Hence why we've seen 13, 15, 20 by now, probably by the time we record this, firings in college football, right? Like, all these coaches are getting canned, and probably some of them really don't need to be canned. But that's where we're at right now, where an example was made of James Franklin, and everybody else is getting canned. So I don't think that he would get canned at this point. He shouldn't. He's elevated Texas back up to being relevant again, because Tom Herman was ass. Charlie Strong, it's like Michigan. Rich Rodriguez and Brady Hoke. They're very similar, like what the outcome was on the field, right? Like it was. Actually, they won a Sugar Bowl with Tom Herman, just like they did with Brady Hoke. And then they went, right? Like it's so but getting
Charlie
back to the Sark thing.
Ultra ass.
Getting back to the Sark conversation, just because I have to talk about it daily. I could see him saying, you know what? I don't need to do this. I can go be an offensive-minded coach and go to the NFL if someone gives me an opportunity, and I don't have to re-recruit my current players. I have these guys under contract. Like, being a coach today, you have to be Dan Lanning, or like when I say Dan Lanning as an example, insane, focused. Like, you are just all here. Like, he probably doesn't hate being in Eugene, nor does probably James Franklin hate being in South Bend, because not a lot of distractions. Austin, a lot of distractions. And so that's all. I'll just leave it at that, fellas. I would not be shocked, because he's been in the NFL already recently with the Falcons, if he just said, you know what, guys, I got a job, because there's nowhere else for him to go. LSU's not an upgrade. No hate to LSU. It's a great job, but LSU's not an upgrade. Texas, I know we did our rankings, but Texas is the ceiling. Like, you can throw 5 other schools in there. It's the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly.
They have everything you need. So that's all I have to say about Sark. I wouldn't be shocked if he leaves for the NFL. That's all I have to say.
I think I could see like the Bengals if they let Zach Taylor go.
Right.
That would be a very good fit for Sark. I mean,
The
it'd be a good
Dolphins
fit for a lot
possibly.
of people, but
Dude, the Bengals would be so funny because they would just their defense would be so bad. Still,
I don't
but
know.
he gets time.
Sark's fielded an all right defense at Texas, and
yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
It would be tough to be worse than what Zach Taylor's put out there the last
True.
couple of seasons.
it would be. It's nearly impossible, honestly.
All right, fellas. So let's get to the rankings currently, right?
Yeah.
I'll share the screen.
And Dak, we'll once we touch on Ole Miss, I'll let you kind of take the floor with because they're obviously in these rankings. The Lane Kiffin talk. You have some insight, I'm sure, as to what's going on there. The family, Lila, I believe her name is, or Layla, was in Baton Rouge, correct?
The ex-wife, yes.
The ex-wife that he's also gotten back with. Great idea.
Gotta say, college football coaches they're the Michael Jordan of getting back with the ex-wives.
Yeah,
all right.
Except Coach O. Coach O really moved on. He's living his best life, though. Coach O he bounced around for a little bit.
He's probably better for it. I bet you Sark's wishing he did the same right now.
Coach O definitely is better for it, man. Like, he's a rejuvenated man. It's good to see.
All right, fellas, we're gonna go through these games. We're gonna go through the rankings here. I'll ask you this because I know them, and maybe Stu, I asked you to pull it up on On3, so maybe you got some insight. I don't know if you actually looked at that tweet very much, but again, I'm gonna go. What's that spread? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it. So
yeah, and can I say something real quick? Just as you
go ahead.
I think my number one pet peeve, and it's been every single week that they've done this. I understand that how the auto bids work. It's the highest ranked team from the conference winners, right? And Miami, I understand, is the highest ranked team from the ACC. They have a very, very long ways to go from winning the ACC. There's a very small chance that they will actually be in that 11 spot. I think it's disingenuous, and I also think it's stupid that they constantly show them in the bracket at that number 11 spot representing the ACC when they are not even close to first in the ACC right now.
They're just gaslighting the Miami fans.
I think they are, dude. I was thinking about it today. I was like, I feel like they almost do this because, like, the common fan who doesn't look that deep into it, they won't be that upset with Notre Dame being ranked ahead of them because they're like, oh, Miami's still in the playoffs. They're still in the bracket. And they have no idea that they just simply aren't going to be there at the end of the year. Most likely.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's two things. I think it's one, it pads and makes Notre Dame look better, and it gives them more of a reason to rank them as high as they are, which I don't think they should be ranked that high. Number two, it's just an ACC placeholder. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. So it's doing two things in one. That's what I think is going on.
Yeah.
Miami could get in as at large, but they need teams to lose, obviously.
Yeah. I think Notre Dame's ranked too high as well, but to be honest, I think if Bama lost to any SEC team and didn't lose to Florida State, they'd probably be ahead of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys think here? Let me ask this: do you think Alabama should be ahead of Notre Dame? Because I do. I think Alabama should probably be
100%.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, fellas. We had this argument on air, and I'm not trying to be the SEC Glazer. I don't like being that. Mm-hmm. I think OU, I know they have 2 losses, probably should be ahead of Oregon. Oregon can earn their way this week playing USC to be ahead of OU, but OU's losses are to 2 good teams. I know Texas doesn't look amazing, but they're still ranked, and they have better
rivalry game. That game, weird shit just happens. Too,
right, right, and they have 2. They have great wins. They have an amazing win at Alabama. This Alabama, yes, you're right, Stu. I think Alabama is that far back because they have that FSU loss, but that was months ago. This team is really good. Yeah. They go into their crib and win. Their only other loss is to number 6, Ole Miss. Like, I would put OU at 7. You can make the argument Oregon at 8 or even 9 in my eyes, because I might even put Bama at 8, but I'm fine with Alabama at 9. I'm not cool with Notre Dame at 9. I'm cool with them at 10. I don't think they deserve to be anything higher than 10.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's been a common theme, at least, that everybody says this committee prefers to use the eye test. I'm fine, I guess, with Oregon at 7 because I kind of expected them to just do that. But if you're going based off the eye test, Oregon hasn't looked good since they played Indiana. Like, they haven't.
Well, what's their best win? Iowa?
Like, Iowa's the best win. Iowa's the best win. And I think also, like, the frustrating part, at least for me specifically, when it comes to Notre Dame at 9, they talk about the eye test. And I understand that Notre Dame has been playing good football right now. Alabama has been playing really good football up until the second half against Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's
been getting better. And I think the other frustrating part for me, at least, is when they do talk about the resume, most of the time they talk about how Notre Dame has 2 very good losses. That's what they talk about. They lost to Miami, which is that really that great of a loss at this point? I don't know. And the A&M loss. Well, Alabama just lost to Oklahoma, who's number 8, and I guess the Florida State loss doesn't look great. But eventually you have to take a look at the wins. And if you were to take Notre Dame
in Athens at night.
I was going to say, if you were to take Notre Dame and match them up against Georgia on the road at night,
no shot.
Are you really taking Notre Dame there?
Same with Oregon.
No. Are you really taking it? Exactly. And Alabama's ranked. They've beaten other ranked teams as well, obviously. They've already beaten Vandy and they've beaten Mizzou and whatnot. And so eventually I think you have to take account to the wins, and it's like, who has Notre Dame beaten? And it's really just USC, and that's about it.
That's it.
And so, like, that's where I think it's annoying, is like Notre Dame doesn't have great wins. They always just talk about their losses. And I think that Alabama positioning at 10, like I said, it's just a little buffer that's protecting Notre Dame in their safe little playoff bubble. I really think that's what it is. It gives
neither Notre Dame or Oregon, neither of them are beating Georgia in Athens at night. And to be honest, I think Bama would be in a fair game, puncher's shot game in any of the top 4. I would not say the same about Oregon or Notre Dame. I don't think Oregon or Notre Dame are beating anyone in the top 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. No, that's a good way to put it, fellas. Here's the deal. Like, my issue is what I'm seeing, fellas, is I thought the committee at first was doing all right, but this is where you go, all right, so you're using this record strength metric to me. Let me go through this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Indiana, Ohio State, fine. A&M. All right, great. They're all undefeated. I don't really have a full problem with that. But here's where I start to have a problem. Obviously, Georgia's at 4. They earned that. I think Texas Tech earned 5. Ole Miss, their only loss to Georgia 6 is great. But it begins at 7. Oregon, yes, they're 9-1. Okay, they only have 1 loss. But they're giving them credit because they lost to the number 2 team in the country. And to be honest with you, fellas, that game wasn't really close. Like, if you actually watch that game, they were down 2 scores most of it, even when they threw that pick 6, and that was in Eugene. So I'm seeing teams get more credit, like Notre Dame. Let's go to Notre Dame now. Oh, well, no, they lost to A&M, who's undefeated, and we put Miami at 11. So they're 2 losses, and I get it's early on, and I get the fact that I'm rooting for CJ Carr. Probably you guys are too. The kid went to Saline. Like, I generally, not Notre Dame, but I am rooting for that kid. And he is, a redshirt freshman. Sure, that's great, fine, and dandy. They lost. They lost those 2 games. And you don't have a good of win as Oklahoma does, nor do you have a good of win as Oklahoma's second win or third win, and same with Alabama. Alabama went on the road, like you guys just said, and beat Georgia. Alabama has gone on the road and won tough games. Yes, they lost to FSU, and I get you're going to put them back a little further because that's not a great loss. But it was week 1 in August, and it was on the road, to be fair. So, like, Alabama has won tough games. So has Oklahoma. And Oklahoma's resume, honestly, of all the batches, is probably the most impressive, because you look at the teams that are ranked right now, still, including Michigan, including, obviously, at Alabama, Texas being a bad loss, sure, but, like, that Ole Miss game was close. So I have a problem with that, and I think they're totally protecting Notre Dame. Notre Dame in no world can have a home game, nor should they be anything higher than 10 ever. They can't, even if they win by 100 these next 2 games, they cannot get above 10, in my opinion. They shouldn't be able to. They are 10. They can't elevate themselves to win a conference championship because they're not in one. Their wins are not that good. USC, if they lose to Oregon this weekend in Eugene, that even doesn't help the cause anymore. So I have a problem with Notre Dame where they're at. And I think you're right. I think they're protecting them in a bubble. And they're just giving credit to teams for losing to good opponents. Like, they're not crediting teams as much for winning tough games.
That's
You
the thing.
see the same. I think Texas has a little bit more of an argument. Like, it's not as bad of a case, but you could even use the 7-3 Texas still being above teams with 2 losses just because they lost to Ohio State on the road to start the season.
Yeah, but like Texas, I'll say this. At the time being, they do have 2 top 10 wins, right? So they did beat OU at the time, who's now 8, and they still beat Vanderbilt, who's 14. So I'll give them that at least. You know what I mean, Stu? But like, they
Yeah,
deserve
not
to
as
be
bad
in
as Notre Dame, but still.
right.
Well, I think like just, and I keep going back to it. I think that the tough thing is just like, if you truly, and I know it's not the only thing that they're using. They kind of just pick and choose what sort of metric that they actually want to use. But if you're talking about the eye test, I can't confidently say that Notre Dame has looked great, but also they've looked great against like Pitt. Good for you. Yes, you look awesome with the eye test when you play Pitt and teams like that. I can't confident, like Alabama looked incredible. Like I said, up until they played Oklahoma in that second half. Oklahoma has maybe the best defense in the country. And if Notre Dame were to go match up against Oklahoma right now, would they lose by more than 3 points? Maybe. I also kind of want to go back to, like, even if you talk about at the start of the season, I didn't think Miami was going to beat Notre Dame. If they matched up right now, I would not think that Miami would beat Notre Dame. But guess what? Maybe they would. And so you can talk about the eye test as much as you want, but eventually, I do think it has to come down to resume. And you can't just talk about losses. I think you have to talk about the teams that you have actually beat head-to-head on the field.
Yep.
And I think where it's going to get very, very, very interesting is they did the interview last night with the committee chair. Super weird guy. I'm not a big fan, but whatever.
Weird guy. I agree.
He was really odd. I don't know how many times he's been on TV, but it's not meant for him regardless. They asked him, they're like, when you talk about Notre Dame and Miami, what's the comparison there? And he said straight up, he's like, we don't compare those 2 teams. They're very far apart. He said Miami has lost to 2 unranked teams. Notre Dame has lost to 2 ranked teams. There's no comp there. He said if they get closer in ranking, i.e. the buffer, that's why it's still there. He said if they get closer in ranking, then they will look at some comparisons. So if you don't want to take the head-to-head factor in that sense, when it comes to Miami and Notre Dame playing head-to-head, say when Oregon loses to USC, say they lose to USC by a point, or say Michigan beats Ohio State, but they still have that loss to USC. If they keep Notre Dame ahead of those teams, and one of the reasonings is because Notre Dame beat USC and Michigan lost to USC, or Oregon lost to USC, I don't think it's fair to use a metric like that, which I know they will, if you're not going to, in this case with Miami and Notre Dame, use their literal head-to-head matchup.
Right.
You know, and so they pick and choose the metrics that they use. And that's why if you're an actual committee, I think you got to just use the actual resume you have in front of your face. Otherwise, it's all pointless. Why play the game, you know?
Right. Like, for me, Stu, you got something?
No, I agree. I was just gonna say too, like with Bama being at 10 behind Notre Dame, like Bama, to be honest, I'll give all the credit to Oklahoma. Like they played a heck of a game, deserved to win. Defense was great. But really, Bama doubled them up in yards. And if they don't throw the pick six,
he did.
Bama 90% chance wins that game.
Missed field goal too at the end of the half.
This is okay. So this is where I think they're being hypocritical. All right. I'm going to read this off because I agree with both the things you guys just said, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get it's in Tuscaloosa. Maybe they bring it out of consideration. But if they're going to do that with Notre Dame, where legit it's head-to-head, right? Legit it's head-to-head. They both went to an ACC opponent. And obviously Miami, sure, it's a better team than Florida State because they played head-on, all right? But, like, and if you're doing the, like, well, it was early on in the year, like, argument, okay, well, Alabama was the first game of the year, and it was in it was in Tallahassee. Fellas, let me read this. Let me read this to you. September 27th, Alabama went to Athens, as we've mentioned, and won 24-21. After that game, they go and play Vanderbilt at home, who currently is ranked. Okay, Georgia right now is ranked 4th. Vanderbilt, as it sits right now, is ranked 14th. They won 30-14. They go to Missouri, who currently is ranked today, as we're looking at the calendar, November 19th. They beat Missouri on the road, who's 22 in the country, 24. They win 27-24. And then after that, the week after, legitimately, they go and beat the number 20 team ranked today. 4 opponents in a row that they beat that are all ranked today, and they win 37-20, 3 scores against Tennessee. So how you can throw them at 10 to me is baffling. Baffling. I feel for Kellen DeBoer and Alabama, and they'll make the playoffs as long as they win these next 2 games. They won't lose to Eastern Illinois. And even if it's Auburn and it's weird and they lose, then okay, you lose that and you can't lose that game, right? Like they'll be in the playoffs if they win out, but them at 10 right now is ridiculous. I think that to me, I would put, and maybe they don't want to optics wise, but I would put Oklahoma at 7. They just beat them head on. You can't. I would put Alabama at 8 for the time being until Oregon plays. Oregon, I know you're 9-1, but who have you beat? I get the Penn State game means something to me. It does. I know maybe not a lot of people, but I put them at 9, and then I'd put Notre Dame at 10. That's how I'd redo this.
I would do the exact same.
I agree.
I think there's an argument to be made that – go ahead, Sue.
I was gonna say, should we hit the? I know we got a lot to get through this episode. Should we do the?
Yeah. We're I know it's a lot to cover. Let's do real quick, fellas.
I want to do the guess the spread.
Yeah, I got it.
It's the spread.
Perfect. All right, so in these games, and then we'll move on to we got big matchups next week. Really, this upcoming week's huge, but next week after that, rivalry weekend, because we'll be off for Thanksgiving. So we're going to get a lot in this episode. But yeah, fellas, we'll start off with Tulane and Texas Tech. Texas Tech, I've heard from the fans out there in Lubbock. We have a friend who lives out there, and he's gone to a few games, and just fans in general. They almost rather have a game just to have a playoff game than get a bye, which is kind of hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's like what Lubbock's about. Toss those tortillas. What's the spread if they were to play Tulane today? Texas Tech hosting Tulane in that playoff game. What do you guys got?
I weirdly think the books maybe give Tulane a little extra credit. And, I don't know if they give Texas Tech as much credit as they deserve. I'll go 14.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stu?
Yeah, I'm gonna go similar. I don't know if they would give Tulane any credit. It's funny, right before I even got on this, I don't know if you guys saw, but I saw John Sumrall said that he doesn't even think Tulane is a top 25 team.
He did that interview, yeah. That was cool.
Yeah. But I would say I'm gonna go Texas Tech 18. I'm just gonna say 18 flat.
It's 19.5.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
This one's interesting. This one I got people on air with today because I would not have guessed this. OU hosting Notre Dame.
I think I would go. I'm going Oklahoma 3.5.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Oklahoma. The fact that you said what you said, Kreitz, I'm gonna actually say this is a pick'em.
That's a good guess because both the people on air that I talked to, Jack and Sawyer, they both went Oklahoma. It is Oklahoma plus 4.5 in Norman.
Oh,
plus?
What?
Oklahoma plus?
Plus 4.5.
Notre Dame's
Oh
minus
my
4.5.
God. Notre Dame's minus 4.5. Yeah.
That's outrageous.
Wild what they think about Notre Dame.
Dude. I don't get it.
They
like
look
my
really
love
good right now, but how can we tell with competition?
That's
right?
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they beat USC in the race.
I don't know. I mean, they did start off their season with 2 extremely good teams, so I don't know. Well, Miami's whatever relative. All right.
Also, I'm sorry. We'll see about Texas A&M, dude. They've played the softest SEC schedule you could possibly.
They have. You're totally right. Not one team they've beat this year is
bottom 7 of the SEC.
Besides Notre Dame, but in the SEC, you're right. They have it.
Exactly.
And that's not their fault, to be fair. It's not.
It's not.
All right.
We didn't really talk about their game, but if Shane Beamer just gets his team to get one field goal in the second half of that game this past weekend, then probably not undefeated anymore.
Yeah, I just gave the stat. That was it. It hasn't happened in 286 games. What they'll being 27 in an SEC game. It's unbelievable they lost that game. All right, this one. Oregon hosting Alabama. Kalen DeBoer going back to Eugene, because remember they had that rivalry when he was there at Washington. Kalen DeBoer going to Eugene to play Dan Lanning again. That would be pure cinema. I'd love it.
I remember it fondly. I don't think he listens, but shout out David Ocampo. Also, I'll plug his podcast in here, Off the Bench. He recorded 4 episodes when he was in college. The last one was about the U.S. Open, but it was mainly a Real Madrid Clippers pod, probably the only one out there.
Brutal. That's brutal.
But yeah, when
the only one in existence.
It's gotta be
for sure. Only one ever to exist.
When Kalen DeBoer was at Washington, I took him against Oregon. I would take him again, but I think this time they'd be favored. I would go Alabama. I'm going to give Alabama actually 4.5 here.
Okay. Stu?
I'm going to say Alabama 3.5.
It's a pick 'em, which I respect it, because Eugene's not easy to play, especially
It's not.
That would be a pick 'em. All right, and the last one, and this is when I'll give you the keys here, Dak. Do the score, but it's Ole Miss, and I give you the keys because it's Lane Kiffin. Is there any truth to this? Is he going to be LSU's head coach? But first, answer the question: what's the spread there? Ole Miss at the Grove hosting Carson Beck in Miami, which he lost there last year as a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, this feels like Ole Miss 5.5. Man, maybe that's low. Yeah, I'll go 5.5.
Not to spoil it, Stu, but that's his best guess.
I'm gonna say Ole Miss. I'm gonna say Ole Miss 7.5.
It's 4.5. 4.5.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's the big end there. All right, Dak, talk to us, brother. Are you gonna get Lane Kiffin as your head coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, his family clearly went to Baton Rouge. His ex-wife did, and they toured the city. I don't know why.
Rekindled their relationship. Now let's get some insight there, because when you say that, it's like, all right, great. You know what I mean? But like, they are together again, clearly, right?
Yeah, and that's been because I think he like talked about it last year that they like kept in contact and everything. But I think my understanding is the kids went out there too, and they got a tour of the city, and it was big news. There were some rumors going around there that he also talked to the governor. Those have been debunked. I don't think he talked to the governor. The governor's not involved anymore.
I was like, governor's gone, right? He's out.
That was a one-time thing. The governor's still making jokes like he's involved. He's like, hey, we got to go find a football coach. I don't think he's involved anymore. It feels like if they want Lane Kiffin, they're going to get him. I think I'm kind of in the boat of I really don't care if we don't get him, which almost concerns me. I don't know how badly I want him, because I feel like Lane, he spent a lot of time building his image back up after all the stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Who do you want?
I know. Well, that's the tough part, because
Jimbo Fisher.
No, I don't want Jimbo Fisher. That was the worst part. Is that was my idea for another team, was you get him for free and you use that money on NIL. I mean, like I said, I think the coolest scenario would be, let's say Dan Lanning's off the table.
He is.
You can't go get him. Yeah. I think the coolest scenario is you go get Joe Brady. You get him back on the recruiting trail. He's not coming back to college football.
I don't see an NFL coach wanting this situation. Do you, Dak? I mean, seriously, I get LSU's a great job. It's an amazing job. But when it comes to pick and choose, and maybe he does, and I get it. Like, I'm just throwing this out there. Like, right? Like, this day and age we're in, where I just kind of gave the whole Sark spiel. Like, it is so much different being a head coach now than it was a decade ago, obviously. And even when he was coaching there with Joe Burrow and that team that won the whole Natty, like, you're just in a different era where you're recruiting your own players back after a season. Yeah. The free agency period is pretty much every game. Like, you are – I know they have a new transfer portal and they're trying to button it up more, but college sports in general and college football specifically, if I'm in the NFL and I'm a guy like him who's probably going to get called by Tennessee and New York, I mean, New York probably, I don't know if they want to go back to that well, that I'm referring to the Giants, but like a few vacancies will be open. Maybe Cleveland moves on finally. I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't know. Like, let's just say he wants to stay in the NFL, which is fair. He wants to stay in the NFL. Then who else would you want other than Lane Kiffin?
And so
stay away from the NFL. Just hypothetically. I generally want to know.
I know. Because I mean, like, if it were my choice, it would be Dan Lanning. You're not getting Dan Lanning. It would be Marcus Freeman. You're not getting Marcus Freeman. A name that I brought up that I still like, I brought it up for Penn State that I would be incredibly intrigued by, because I feel like Dan Lanning, he wasn't a head coach before he was a coordinator. Kirby Smart wasn't a head coach before he got the Georgia job. He was just a coordinator. That's not always the worst route to go. Brian Hartline.
Yeah.
Brian Hartline is 38 years old. He kind of built up wide receiver U at Ohio State. And I think that wouldn't be the worst fit, and it wouldn't be overly expensive. I don't know if that's the route. I don't want to go the Kelvin Shepherd route. I like Kelvin Shepherd a lot, but he's just been a defensive coordinator.
I just don't think the NFL is like what people like. If you're in the NFL now, do you see what I'm saying though? Not to cut you off.
It doesn't make sense. The Shepherd one makes more sense because he played for LSU as opposed to Joe Brady. Joe Brady was at LSU for 1 year.
He is made like talk about how shitty that Lions game was, fellas. We all watched it together. Dude, the defense is why we were even in that game with Joe Schmo at corner. Like, dude, like he might get called also by NFL teams. He might be a better DC right away than we saw with AG. So,
I would say
the Bengals. Can you imagine if the Bengals pulled Kelvin Shepherd, bro?
That'd be kind of a good fit. Yeah,
right. He's got all his LSU boys on offense there. He don't even have to worry about the offense. He just got to get the defense.
Just work on your side of the football. Yeah.
But anyways, obviously I could go in about it for forever. But if LSU really wants Lane Kiffin, I still think they could go get him. I'm hesitant now because Lane Kiffin spent many years, really the past few years at Ole Miss, trying to rebuild his brand. He's like, money's not super important to me. It's more about winning. I want to continue to win, and I'm not going to make decisions based off that. His prior actions have always been he's kind of screwed teams over, and he has been a little bit of a con man, always trying to just work his way up the ladder, and he had to go back to kind of the Nick Saban school of football to get right. He's kind of doing it again where he's playing games with Florida. He's playing games with Ole Miss. He's playing games with the media and a little bit with LSU. And if you bring Lane Kiffin in, I'm hearing reports of because what's Kirby Smart making? He's making $13.5 million. I heard Ole Miss put an offer on the table for Lane Kiffin to match that at 13.5. And people are saying that LSU would go as high as 15.5 or 16. If it takes that, Lane Kiffin is a better coach or a better fit at LSU than Brian Kelly was. And I think Lane Kiffin has a much better opportunity to win at LSU than Brian Kelly ever did. But I don't know if I want to go down the route of you're paying him $15 million a year and you got to win something within his first 5 years. It makes me nervous. But
hold on. Whoa. Why does it make you nervous if he was able to do it at Ole Miss and can recruit this whole area already? Like, if he can do it at Ole Miss, why can't he do it at LSU?
Well, I think he would recruit wonderfully at LSU. He would do a better job in that sense than he did at Ole Miss. Although he's put together some incredibly talented rosters at Ole Miss. I mean, he had Jackson Dart last year, which is a national.
I mean, they're a staple playoff team this year, correct? Like they have one game, and even if they lost the Egg Bowl, they won't. But
I think that's the concern. LSU was a more talented football team this year than Ole Miss was, and they lost to them. But I think the concern is still he just got his first ranked road win this year when they went and beat Oklahoma. He has struggled at times.
They were right outside for making it last year, and he's gotten them 9-8 wins prior to that. Like Ole Miss is not a program that's very. I mean, I just think he's the
Ole
best
Miss is a bottom tier program in the SEC, and he brought him up. I agree. But the pressure would be there, and you have to beat Alabama and you have to beat Georgia. Like you have to beat those two teams at LSU.
Not necessarily. I disagree. Not necessarily. Because in this day and age, we have 5 SEC teams making it.
Yeah, it's true.
He didn't beat Georgia this year. He didn't play Alabama this year.
And I guess you don't have to beat those teams to win a national championship now. You don't.
Like now down the road, you might. But we're talking about, like, I get it at LSU. This is why I'm not disagreeing with anything. I generally want to know, right? Like I'm not trying to be argumentative, but I do think like if you able to lock him down, it's a great hire. Like it's A- if you have any questions of who the guy is or whatever. If he gets distracted, fine.
I also agree. He would be. I think that's your home run hire if you get him at LSU.
I don't think you can overlook how big of a hire he is. Like,
no, I know, and that's.
I want to ask you this. Real quick before we get too in the weeds, Dak. I want to ask you this because I'm looking at LouisianaSports.net right now, and this was an article they posted yesterday. And Lane Kiffin is not in their top 3 odds favorite to be LSU's next coach. So I want to ask you this: if it came down to these 3 names in the top 3, and who knows how much LouisianaSports.net knows, but out of these 3 names, I just thought it would be interesting for you to pick one you would take as your new head coach. The current favorite they have is Kenny Dillingham to be LSU's next head coach.
He's pretty locked down at ASU, he said.
I know, but
number 2 would be Marcus Freeman. And then number 3, they have Eli Drinkwitz. So if you had to go with one of those 3, who are you going?
Marcus Freeman, without a doubt.
Marcus Freeman would probably be the best hire. Like, I might even argue over anybody in college right now. Anyone. Like Dan Lanning and Marcus Freeman are my 1A, 1B, and Lane would be my 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both young, they're proven, and they're still hungry.
Like, Stu, if Michigan, I'll ask you this. If Michigan were to be able to get any coach in college football, I just want to get your opinion. Who would you pick? Would it be one of those 2 guys, maybe 3 if you want to throw in Lane? Like, I think that's the 3.
If Michigan could get any coach in college football, I wouldn't hate Marcus Freeman, but like if I'm going my personal pick, who I'm taking, honestly, I would go with Dan Lanning.
That's
would be
fine.
my number 1 pick. And main reason is because he's a defensive guy. We're a defensive program.
Sure.
He's got hella energy, and he knows how to sell a big brand.
And so Marcus Freeman, I know he went to Ohio State, so maybe there's that to it. So maybe he would never want to come. And he's been at Notre Dame, which are legit the 2 Michigan's biggest rivals, I think, in my opinion, besides Michigan State, if you want to throw that in there. But he's also a defensive-minded coach. Wouldn't he not be probably number 2? Maybe Lane's your 2?
Yeah, Marcus Freeman would be top 3 for sure. It's to me, it's Lane Kiffin, Dan Lanning, Marcus Freeman. Those are the 3. Those are like the 3 best guys.
I actually think
Kirby aside, because Kirby's obviously not going anywhere.
He'll never leave, and why would he? Right? Like,
Kenny
Dillingham would probably be in my top 5 if I'm looking at my school, like the team I root for, just like Stu's Michigan. Like Kenny Dillingham would be a great hire, but Dak, I just bring this up. We won't get too lost in the weeds because I don't think. Just from an outsider's perspective, you can overlook how big of a hire getting Lane would be. I just don't. I really don't think you can. Oh, we got Lane, or Lane would be great because who else are you gonna get?
Yep. No, I agree. I think that's the problem. I mean, you can check the tape. I think when the job first came available, you guys asked me, you're like, realistically, who would be your hire? I said Lane Kiffin. And like that would put a little shot in the arm of the fan base that's kind of needed right now. We haven't lost any recruits. You would only gain recruits with Lane. He would fit here perfectly, and he'd have a great chance to win within his first 5 years. Like I said, I think the only reason where I'm like not hesitant, but it's a little concerning is he's kind of doing this little media rigmarole thing again. And he
likes the attention, man. He just had a documentary.
Yeah, which I don't mind. You know what? That actually plays at LSU.
I think it plays for what you want.
Exactly. So it'd be fine. Now, I don't want to really pay him $15 million a year. I think that's a little egregious.
It's not your money.
I know it doesn't matter.
It's not, Dak. It's not your money. Like you need the best.
To be honest, we're at a point in college football where money shouldn't even really be.
He's a great coach.
Like, this is just monopoly.
Dynamite hire.
And I'll take him, and we would be good. We'd be good immediately. It would be next year.
You'd be sick. They beat the brakes off you this year. They should have beat you last year at your crib.
But, straight up.
But Nuss
dude,
threaded to die.
They beat you with Trinidad Shameless out of Ferris State. Can you imagine if Lane Kiffin had the Nuss bus?
Dude, Shameless is good.
He's nasty, but I'm like Lane Kiffin with the Nuss bus. Hypothetically, if he had him this season, probably could have caused a lot of damage.
Agreed. They'd be in the playoffs. All right. let's get to this because I know Stu's showing this because you're right. We could get caught in the weeds there a lot, but Lane should be your number one hire if James. Not James. Jesus, I keep mixing up names. James Franklin. I know James Franklin was your favorite hire. No, if Marcus Freeman, excuse me, and Dan Lanning are not available, which I don't believe they are. So okay, all right, Dak. But outside the NFL, who is your two? Who's your two? And then we'll get to this.
Yeah, it would be Lane Kiffin, and then
Brian
I think
Hartline would be your two.
And I think Brian Hartline. I don't really want Drink, and Dillingham. Kind of torn on. Yeah, those would be my two.
Okay. All right, this USC Oregon game. I'm assuming game day's there. I would assume.
Gotta be. This is the only big game.
Yeah.
It is a huge game because this puts you in third in the Big Ten. This game gets you there at that spot. Sure, Michigan is still alive if they beat Ohio State. I do think Oklahoma probably needs to suffer one more loss for you to feel really good about getting in. Michigan's not technically dead, but they're fifth right now in the Big Ten. I think technically Oregon actually is, fellas, fifth in the Big Ten, but when it comes to team standpoint, they're really not. Like I think Oregon and USC clearly are better. 9.5 though is what sticks out to me, boys. I'd go USC 9.5 points. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I would too. I mean, this is a playoff game.
It is for sure.
Every sense of the word, I winner gets in by all means. And so even though it's in Eugene, Oregon,
you occupy the third spot in the Big Ten if you win this game. And obviously, you have to be. I'll say this with Oregon. I know they lost to Wisconsin, but Washington's not a joke, especially a rivalry game on the road. It's not.
Still a tricky game. Yeah.
Right.
And honestly,
have to win that game.
That's all Washington's playing for at this point is to ruin Oregon's season.
Right.
Yeah.
But
no,
I feel good about USC beating UCLA. UCLA's magic is dead.
It's over. And Washington, they've killed Oregon's season before, but. No, 9.5 is that's way too much because, like I said, dude, I guess Oregon, they blew out Minnesota on Friday, whatever. But they hadn't looked great ever since that Indiana game. They played Wisconsin tight. Side note, Wisconsin's got a little juice now. They're okay. But they played Wisconsin tight. They played Iowa tight, obviously. I don't think they're going to win by more than 10 here, even though it's in Eugene. Like, I would take USC to cover all day.
Yeah, I'm honestly taking USC to cover this for sure. And honestly, part of me wants to take them to win this one. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would rather USC lose this for Michigan's sake or if I would rather Oregon lose, but I don't know. My gut just makes me feel like USC is going to win this game.
I think the best case scenario as a Michigan fan, Stu, would be best case. I mean, see if we can manufacture it, would be Oregon wins, but they lose to Washington. It's a tough road game. I think it's doable because I don't think USC will lose to UCLA just from a talent standpoint. Because, there's a roadblock there. And if Oregon pulls off this win and then loses to Washington and Michigan were to beat Ohio State, then you look at a bunch of 9-3 teams. Big Ten has got 1 12-0, 11-1, who was number one in the country, and that's who Michigan beat. So I think Michigan at that point, that's like best. That's the way you get in.
Yeah.
Like there's no debate at that point. The debate becomes if you have USC both at 10-2 because they're going to go, well, they beat them head on, and they beat them by a decent amount. Was it 31-13? They kicked our shit. I hated that game.
You're right. I think you're right. Oregon, for Michigan's sake, Oregon needs to win. But I'm telling you, I don't know why. I just have a feeling. I feel like USC is going to win this game.
They can definitely win this game.
This is going to be a sad Dave weekend. Hopefully,
they haven't looked amazing. They just
no, they haven't. And dude, I mean, I mentioned it last week on the pod. It would be awesome if USC could just put it together consistently, because Mekhi Lemon, he's sick, and that offense is still great under Lincoln. They just have these games, and usually it's a game like when they're going to play Oregon, where they just can't get it going. Their defense can't get any stops. And so, I mean, if USC plays their best ball, I don't see any reason why they couldn't beat Oregon. If I had to take it just straight up money line, I think I would pick Oregon. especially because they haven't really had a chance to avenge their loss against
Sure.
Indiana. You know what I mean? They just haven't had the chance to prove it to the rest of the country like other teams have. And so I think they're going to come out firing. We just talked about it. Dan Lanning is one of the best head coaches in college football, and so he's going to have them ready to go, especially at home. Are they going to lose twice at home? But if Oregon was to lose, that's where things get super interesting, especially like you mentioned, if Michigan beats Ohio State, then because then you got a bunch of 10-2s, all very deserving. And then, you have Michigan, who's the lowest ranked of them all right now, who would have at that point the best win in the country against the solidified number one team in the country. And so like that's where things could get super fascinating.
While Michigan's on the mind right now, I also just want to take a moment to acknowledge how horribly wrong I was with my prediction for Michigan versus Northwestern this past weekend.
What'd you
Horrible
say?
game. I said we were going to win by 2 touchdowns and Bryce would look great, and in the first half, it looked like that was
He
going to
did
be the
look good in the
case.
first half.
But
Yeah.
after the second half, that was not the case.
Stu,
So
you
yeah,
sent
very
in
wrong there.
what was that chart that you sent in? It was like offensive and defensive efficiency, right?
Offensive and defensive efficiency. And I will say this though, like to
Yeah.
the point of why I'm sure they're up there in terms of that
Yeah.
slot on that graph, even
Run
though a lot
game.
of these games they've played against inferior teams have been close, is that they actually average. I don't know if they still do, but I know as of like 2 weeks ago, Michigan was still top 10 in yards per play somehow on
Okay.
offense, which is shocking, but
Because
it is true.
I was gonna say
And
like
then defense, we just run the classic bend don't break, and so you're gonna be towards the top when you do that. What's really killed Michigan, honestly, and I think any Michigan fan wants to pull their hair out because of this, is against Michigan State, against Purdue, against Northwestern. All 3 of those games could have been games won by 2 touchdowns, and they simply weren't because you turned the ball over too damn much, especially
turnovers.
against
Yeah.
Northwestern. Northwestern had 5 turnovers somehow, and Sharon said this, and you don't love it. You would rather hear from your coach something that Nick Saban would say in terms of, "Yeah, we suck right now. We have to be way better." But he did say, and this is true, super hard. You don't win games where you have 5 turnovers, and they somehow did off the
Well,
leg of
that's a great
Dominic Zapata.
segue, Stuart, because not one team has won this season with a -5 because Northwestern didn't turn over the ball. They punted it a shit ton.
Yeah.
But not one team has won this season with a turnover margin of -5 or worse. Last year, SMU won a game with 6 turnovers, but this game is the first time a team has won in this season with -5 in the turnover margin. And I knew they'd win this way. I think I texted in our group chat, they're going to win on some stupid field goal. It's discouraging because they haven't looked, and I get it. Justice Haynes is out. Marshall went out as well. He's been great. And you're right. I mean, I actually watched the highlights because I didn't get to watch the first half like live. I watched the first half after the fact because I go, what happened? I mean, seriously, what happened? I had to ask my father that. I go, what? It was a man who watches every second of Michigan football. And, just how much can you blame an 18-year-old Bryce Underwood because he actually played well in a half of the game? And they have a decent defense there at Northwestern, right? They're competing for a bowl game, right? They were 5-3, now they're 5-5. I think they lost a couple games recently. But dog, this and I get it. I can't throw the Ohio State game out, but what the fuck is this team? What is this team?
I mean,
Super
and
young,
it's
super
they're the
young. I get
youngest
it.
team in the Big Ten, and it shows. Like it truly is what's keeping them from being a really good team or a really solid team is
Run
truly
more.
the turnovers in the red zone. They're just too
Yeah.
careless with the ball in the red zone. And to be fair, like he is an 18-year-old kid, and he's probably going to end up being one of the best QBs we've seen in our life at Michigan when it's all said and done. But Bryce has been careless with the ball in the red zone. He has been
Bad picks in the
horrible
fourth quarter.
picks.
Bad.
He has been since Michigan State, and it's like if you can figure that out, and it's not an easy thing to figure it out, especially when it's been happening the last 4 games. But if you can figure that out, the Ohio State game, it is still on the table, is it would be regardless based off last year.
Right.
But the other thing I wanted to point out, just in terms of Michigan's offense being sneaky, they just can't capitalize in the red zone, is Andrew Marsh. The kid is a stud. He last game against Northwestern this past weekend, 12 catches, 189 yards, I believe. That's more catches in a game and more yards in a game than Jeremiah Smith has had since being at Ohio State.
Yeah, he's been great.
You can't leave out Zavada as well. I mean, Zavada's a stud. Yeah.
Well, Zavato missed a field goal.
Yeah,
He
he missed two.
Yeah, the 60-yarder. I'm not. What? He's playing on a fucking baseball field.
Yeah, that was whatever. It was
he's been shaky up close this season though. The chip shots have been shaky for him.
You know how I feel. You guys both know how I feel. Sharon Moore is on the shortest leash possible. I'll give him till next year. Yeah. Like I'll give him another season, and maybe I'm being prisoner of the moment with just the fact that all these coaches are getting fired. But it's Michigan, man. Not to be that guy, but it's like Harbaugh threw the keys to this guy as he was leaving for the Chargers job, and I don't blame him. But if he's not the guy after year 3 and we're not in the playoffs next year, I don't want him. Plain and simple. Because the offense does not look great. Maybe you get transfers. We have the resources. I think Bryce is the guy. You know what I mean? All this, that, and whatever. And I think Justice, will he just go to the NFL, Stu? What do you think there? I don't know.
No, he's coming back, I think he's going to come back personally. He's not playing the rest of the season, and he was awesome this year. But I think just the injury he had, I don't think if he did go pro, he's probably not going to like the 6th round. Whereas, if he was healthy, we're talking about a guy who'd probably go like 3rd, maybe even 2nd round, late 2nd round. So and Jordan Marshall, luckily he's fine. He apparently is just a stinger. So he will be.
And our 5-star freshman that we liked that was going to start. What's that cat's name? That was a lineman.
Running back?
No,
lineman. Babaloa, yeah, he's been out all season. And Ty Haywood, the other 5-star from Denton, Texas, shout out Mean Green. He redshirted this year. So that's 2 guys, 5-stars you should have on your O-line next season. And 5-star running back coming in, Savion Hyder, number 1 running back in the class. And then you also got 5-star Carter Meadows coming in on your D-line next year. So that's going to be
right. And that's why I'm open to
replacement.
Right. And that's why I'm very open to giving him one more year, but I need to see it next year. And it's a tougher schedule next year.
And I do. It is kind of funny that he brought up in the press conference, he's like, not a lot of teams win with 5 turnovers. 5 turnovers. That's on
you. Had the 5 turnovers, buddy.
Yeah, like that's on you. You're basically saying like this team's super talented. They just got to put it together.
But so that's your job.
Really talented, poorly coached.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's all that says, which is kind of funny.
All right. Let's pivot, fellas. We'll finish it off with we got a little draft action as we're getting into the holiday season. And I know, Stu, you said it's going to be a little Thanksgiving draft, and then we'll get Dak's dog to finish that.
Yeah, wait, I was going to say this, fella. I'm supposed to go play euchre. If you boys want to, you can close out the episode potentially. I'll give quick Dak's dog.
All right, Dak is playing
2-man draft.
What is
this?
Bro, we can't do that. I'm sorry, you gotta tell Euchre you're gonna be a little late. Yeah,
I did. I thought we were gonna be done right now. I know that's my bad. It was poor time management.
Yeah, what do you think your mother, our biggest listener, Lisa Herbis, is gonna think when she hears this episode and hears can't finish it out? Gotta go play cards.
I know. It was bad. This was bad time management on me. This is my beat.
I don't even want to. Well, Stu, I'll be honest. I don't even want to do it. And it's not.
I don't either.
I don't either. Yeah, no.
It's not a true draft.
A 2-man draft. What is this?
Yeah. I know. This one.
Trying to do too much in a night. You should tell them. You know what? I had to record the pod.
I know. No, it's my bad.
Dak, I think you should just tell Euchre too bad instead of telling the pod too bad.
No,
that's just my personal take.
Yeah, this is.
Not I know. I'm already like 20 minutes late. I just haven't been saying anything.
I missed half of the Michigan basketball game for this pod.
I know. No, it's my bad. I thought we were doing a little 5:36, and I had plenty of time. and then it's on me. Like there's no like right hand up. Like this is my bad.
All right.
All right.
Well, do your Dax dog. Get out of here.
Let's hear the Dax
Scram.
dog.
Dax dog of the week, Gunnar Stockton. It was almost. I almost gave it to Jeremiah Love, which would have been repeat offender, first time of the year, and so we only got a few weeks left, so we'll have to see. But this week, Gunnar Stockton balled out. Got to give it to him.
Gunnar
That he
Stockton.
did.
Congrats.
That he did. We wish you the worst in euchre. Hope you lose in every hand you get. So
I know.
Agreed.
This one's on me. I know. This is my bad. I'm disappointed.
Right.
Numerous parties.
It's all right.
I'll see you.
Go off and tell him. You tell him. All right.
I will.
All right. See you, boys.
All right. See you, Stu. I guess Rowdy.